Chiefs Kingdom, the offseason is fully here, which means we get to do whatever the heck we want and talk about all the players who could potentially be joining the Chiefs for a three-peater. And guess what? Mike Evans, that's the first topic on today's show. He is officially going to free agency. And so, will the Chiefs make a move for the veteran wide receiver from Tampa Bay? We'll talk about that on today's show. Plus, Chris Jones, the latest on him, had a little bit of a cryptic tweet. We'll talk about that in the later part of the show, so make sure you stick around. We have a bunch of amazing content for you. But before that, obviously, Mike Evans is probably the reason you clicked on this video, and honestly, it's the main topic of this show. So I ask you, before we get started, before I tell you all the facts, before I tell you the stats, would you want Mike Evans to be a part of the Kansas City Chiefs team that is going to go three-peat for the first time in the Super Bowl era? Let me know. Type S for sign, type P for pass. What are you thinking about Mike Evans to KC in 2024? With that being said, let's get rolling right here, and we're going to talk about him because, well, yesterday marked the deadline for the franchise tag to be placed on Mike Evans. So, he's officially now headed to free agency in just a couple weeks. Now, I want to kind of run through a couple of Twitter things here just to kind of show you exactly what that means, franchise tag, all the drama that went around that. So, Adam Schefter, one of the first ones to report it, saying, due to his 2023 cap number, Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans' projected franchise tag would be $28.4 million instead of the regular $21.6 million, meaning he is not expected to be a tag candidate. That was a couple days ago. We then followed up with yesterday, saying Jordan Schultz saying the Buccaneers had a soft deadline today to get an extension done with Pro Bowl wide receiver Mike Evans, but both sides remain far apart. Sources say Tampa Bay is set to take on $7.4 million in 2024 dead money by not getting a deal done today. Now, this was at 9:02 a.m. Well, guess what? 9:09 a.m., we got the official report, Diana Rossini, saying today is the day that could save the Bucs, save money by, today is the day that could save the Bucs some money by re-signing all-pro wide receiver Mike Evans. However, that deal won't happen today. Look for the two sides to continue to negotiate in good faith as they work towards the start of free agency. Obviously, all these combined just really all mean one thing. They didn't get a franchise tag deal done. That doesn't mean that he's not going to re-sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it does, however, open the door for him to go to potentially other teams, and within a couple weeks, the Chiefs can start making offers without it being tampering and all that stuff. So now, why the Chiefs? Well, we all know the Chiefs need a wide receiver. That's going to be the topic of this offseason for pretty much a majority of it in the draft, in free agency. You need some wide receivers. The fact that your wide receiver one this year was Rashee Rice, which I'm not crapping on Rashee Rice. I think he is an amazing wide receiver one. The people behind him scare me, though. I don't trust Kadarius Toney. MVS was great in the postseason, but I still remember what the heck he did in the regular season and cannot forget that. McCall Hardman, who's a free agent. Justin Watson, who I think is underrated, but still a wide receiver 3 at best, in my opinion. Richie James, a free agent. Justin Ross, never really got to see him this year. And then Sky Moore, who effectively has been a bust. I don't want to say that, but at the same time, I think we have to start mentioning that word with his name just because, I mean, round 2 pick and you don't get anything out of him and it's almost year 3. It's really tough. Mike Evans, though, well, he's pretty proven, if you ask me and if you ask anybody around the NFL. He's played a lot of games in his past 4 years. He's had 1,000 yards in every single season he's played. By the way, that's 10 seasons, 1,000 yards. And his average continues to climb as he continues in age. I mean, let's look at this season. 15.9 on the average. Now, you watch this show a lot, you know, I'm an average guy. I like to see the averages up there because that means longer catches, more explosive plays, and more fun to watch. That's exactly what Mike Evans is. Plus, he's got a bunch of touchdowns across the board. And why the Chiefs? It's because they're one of the favorites to land Mike Evans. This one coming from the odds book saying Houston Texans were the favorite. They were just jumped the Tampa Bay Buccaneers actually a day ago. The bookies given here, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 325, and then the Chiefs, the next best option. And then it really is a separation. Like, there's a separation here, but then 450 to 750, and then 900 for the New England Patriots plus 900. So, I mean, hey, I guess go put some money on him. The Chiefs could definitely get up. But the reason the Texans are on here, I do want to mention this real quick. He is from Galveston. Go watch Jameis Winston's video on it. So the Texans could potentially grab him, bring him back home. Plus, he also played at Texas A&M, kind of a homecoming situation for that. Now, Evans is definitely the probably most legit wide receiver guy in free agency this year. He's had the 9th most yards in the NFL in 23. He was tied for first in the NFL in receiving touchdowns. And overall, he's been this way since he was drafted. And I think the bigger thing about Mike Evans is he's done this with countless amounts of quarterbacks. He did it with Tom Brady. He did it with Jameis Winston. He did it with Baker Mayfield. Like, I'm not going to crap on Baker Mayfield, but still, the fact that he's doing this with every single guy is pretty impressive, got to be honest. So I think that says a lot about Mike Evans. So I'm curious to see how we can kind of go about this with Mike Evans. And who knows, maybe he could potentially come in here and hopefully you can come in here and re-sign him. So I asked this question again. I know we had it at the top of the show, but would you sign Mike Evans once you type S for sign or type P for pass? Let me know down in the comment section. I'm curious to see what you think. So overall, though, Mike Evans is kind of one of these guys that you look at and see as a top wide receiver free agent. Now, there are other guys that you could get. You have Michael Pittman Jr., you have T. Higgins, you have Marquise Brown, and you have Calvin Ridley. Now, here's the thing, though. Not exactly proven enough to me. Still pretty young, not proven enough, not proven enough. That's the guy. Mike Evans is the one. If you want a top-tier wide receiver that you know the ins, the outs, the way he plays the game, it's going to work with your play style, it's going to be Mike Evans. That's the way it all works. Now, I say this, stating there is a chance that you have to settle for one of these wide receivers. And I say settle as a light term, because I think you can get Pittman, and he would be good. I think T. Higgins would be great. I think Marquise Brown would be great. I think Calvin Ridley, honestly, may be the best fit in terms of money and value, everything. But I still think the Chiefs need to sit here and look at this and say, okay, we have to look at Mike Evans as the number one option. We have to have him as the guy that we put all of our chips on the board if we want to. If you don't, then I think you need to focus heavy on the draft and the way that you go about that with your wide receiver core. Either way it happens, though, it's going to be an exciting season, and I'm excited to put some more prize picks on them next year. Hopefully, I'm putting on some Mike Evans receiving yards with the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, but you can get a $100 deposit match right now by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS and using code CLNS. Now, I know NFL season's over. We're all kind of a little sad about it, but guess what? They've got NBA, NHL, and my favorite, MLB season-long totals are officially out on the app. And guess what? I've got some ones that I'm pretty confident. We got Shohei Ohtani, $700 million deal. You better hit 40 home runs for $700 million. Good gosh. Juan Soto, who's playing in a Little League park at Yankee Stadium, so he's going to hit 40 bombs. Bobby Witt Jr., the KC guy. He signed with the Kansas City Royals on a big contract. I'm assuming he's going to get more on his 169.5 hits. Nice. Adolis Garcia, 32.5 on the home runs. Listen, coming off a World Series, I trust Adolis is going to pimp some homers. I'm saying 35 for him. I'm going them more. Now, how do you play prize picks? Well, you question, what are you watching? What are you seeing? Well, here's how. All you do, you choose 2 or more players. You can go 2 to 6. Then you choose more or less on their prize picks projected stats. For instance, I had home runs and hits on there. You could do strikeouts. There's a bunch of things you could do. Then you can choose flex or power play depending on how confident you are in those picks hitting. But either way, you can get a $100 deposit match by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS and using that code CLNS. Honestly, testing my skills on prize picks this season has been the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And if you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. That's what makes Prize Picks the number one daily fantasy sports app. Just Prize Picks, it's daily fantasy sports made easy. Once again, prizepicks.com/CLNS with that code CLNS. That'll be in the comments and the description of this video. All right, let's transition here to Chris Jones and kind of what happened with him. So obviously the franchise tag also applies to Chris Jones in a way. He's just unlikely of it, just like Mike Evans. Now, due to his 2023 cap number, Chiefs defensive lineman Chris Jones' projected franchise tag will be $32 million instead of the regular $19.7 million, making him an unlikely tag candidate. Now, Chris Jones wants $30 million, so $32 million doesn't make sense. You could probably get something better, and there's a whole slew of things that goes along with that. But ultimately, we already knew this. I mean, I'm not going to say that this is big breaking news. I don't want to sit here and portray that to you and say, oh, we didn't expect this. What was this? No, it's not. Today is the first day that they can actually open up that franchise tag period. I could see L'Jarius Sneed getting franchise tagged. I honestly think that would be really awesome. But overall, I don't think Chris Jones will be, and really nobody else does as well. Dan Graziano, though, did kind of talk about Graziano. Is that the rest way? Graziano. There we go. I am really bad at names. But either way, he talked on the NFL Network a couple days ago and talked about how the Chiefs if they could three-peat with Chris Jones. He said, no, I think he is their second most important player. Honestly, after the quarterback, he's the second most. No offense to L'Jarius Sneed, he is great, but I think Chris Jones is the more irreplaceable player on that defense. I agree, but I'm kind of curious because he's basically saying that the Chiefs cannot three-peat without Chris Jones. Do you think that? I think this is an interesting comment. I'm kind of curious. I want to poll Chiefs Kingdom right here. Do you think they can do it without Chris Jones? Type Y for yes if you think they can without Chris, or type in for no. I'm really curious to see. I think that this could go either way because, honestly, you have Patrick Mahomes, so you can win whenever. But this defense was honestly the reason the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl and the big reason why they won it, to be honest. So let me know Y for yes if you think the Chiefs could win it without him, and for no if you think they could not. Chris Jones did tweet out something a couple days ago. I don't know what to make of it. He said, "I'm finally back to myself, ... Life is good." I don't know if this was after the parade. I don't know. Like, obviously, it was days after that, so I don't know. And I just have to say exactly this. Oh, boy, the tweeting Chris Jones is back. If you remember the holdout situation, everything that happened there, he was very cryptic in his tweets, and it seems like we're about to get that back, which, for better or for worse, it's kind of like a riddle. We just have to try and solve it. I don't really know what he's talking about in that. But hey, maybe that's something good. Maybe it's something bad. It's every tweet you can read too much into. But hey, Chris Jones, just come back and play for Kansas City. That's all I got to say. Why? Yeah, it's because you're one of the best defensive linemen in the past 8 years, whatever it is. Or I guess that's 6 years. TJ Watt has the most sacks since 2018, 90, obviously. Myles Garrett, 82.5. Defensive Player of the Year. Myles Garrett, by the way. Aaron Donald, 77.5, and then Chris Jones, 69.5. Pretty dang close, obviously. Chris Jones, I think, is still coming into his form a little bit. He had 15.5 sacks 2 years ago, 10.5 this year. In some ways, this is kind of his prime of his career. He's got about 2-3 years left of a prime season, I would say. Obviously, defensive lineman, that could really change with injuries here and there, but still, I think he could really kind of boost up his numbers over the past couple of years. Now, I do want to go back to the statement that Chris Jones made at the parade. Obviously, the events that happened that following it wasn't exactly what we would have liked to have been talking about. So I'm kind of want to get back into more of what actually happened at the parade. And he said this, and I think people forgot about it. He was on the mic, obviously maybe a little bit intoxicated, but that's besides the point, saying, "I need 3 of those rings. We ain't done yet. Kansas City, we're going to be back here. I ain't going nowhere, baby. I'll be here next year and the year after." And then he starts chanting, "Three-peat, three-peat, three-peat." That's pretty good. And now, obviously he says this, but that's one thing. But it does come from Adam Schefter, too. That has a little more ground. The Chiefs, he said this on the Pat McAfee show, what was that, last Monday, the day after the Super Bowl, saying the Chiefs are going to run it back with a lot of this team intact. I don't think Chris Jones is going to want to leave unless there's some huge offers out there. Yeah, Chris Jones is the priority. I think that's the only thing that I can kind of hit on the most here. Chris Jones has to be your priority when it comes to formulating your offseason plan. He runs that defense. He is the more vocal leader. I love L'Jarius Sneed. I hope he's back too. But you have to sign back Chris Jones over him if that's the choice. I think that Chris Jones is the obvious one you have to go through. And honestly, I sit here today and I say this. If Chris Jones re-signs with the Chiefs, I honestly don't know if much else matters. You could lose almost every other free agent besides like maybe Drew Tranquill and Mike Edwards. I think you can go 3-peat with those guys. I think you can go win again. So that's just my opinion, though. Overall, if you get him back, you got a real good shot to go win it again in 2025 Super Bowl, obviously. Hey, I want to go to New Orleans, so I'm hoping the Chiefs will be there, too. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, youtube.com/ChiefsTV. I'd certainly appreciate everything that you could do. So hitting that subscribe button makes you join one of the largest growing Chiefs communities here on YouTube. As always, Chiefs Kingdom, peace out.